Continuing right from where we left off in part 1, Froggy Tonic responds to Hassan Piker by saying, "Been begging for a crew-only pod for years. Alone they were just chilling, having fun. Then Ethan come back with the toilet to once again say he clogged it with paper towels. Then he'd go on a 20-minute segment about how Ryan Kavanagh's teeth were yellow or something. Sean quote tweets Legacy Killer HD from part 1 and says, iDubbbz's position is he can't stick by Ethan because his wife is half Irish and Lebanese. And he called Denims the B word. But he has no problem with Denims encouraging a fraudulent CPS call, and then telling the few decent people in her audience it's cool because kids don't remember." Lewis Spears responds to women posting L's, mocking iDubbbz for crying in his Content Cop video by saying, "Fellas, is it gay to love your wife?" Your Bud Tevin quote tweets Jay Aubrey, showing that the new Content Cop is on H3, and says, "Finally watched this, and shit is super personal, and it feels like I shouldn't be in the middle of it. Lifting the veil is odd. At the same time though, iDubbbz does genuinely feel like he's trying to hold a friend accountable, which I respect. I think it's too far gone, and Ethan's gonna be on bullshit, but it was nice to see a respectful and more calm take than the shit we've been seeing everywhere else." Turkey Tom says, "Overall thoughts on the Content Cop after letting my thoughts stew for a day. Wasn't really Content Cop at all. None of the biting criticism of old. Don't remember any jokes that really landed, if any at all. The only thing that was reminiscent was the opening. The opening itself I think was kind of lame as well. I used to enjoy seeing Ethan chase around some other fool in the woods, with them vaguely dressed as his target, but this time it was just him alone. At risk of sounding cringe, I think this was kind of a disrespect to the Content Cop name, which, like it or not, used to mean something. It's over." Malice says, "People just hate on iDubbbz because he grew up and they refuse to." Dapper Bear quote tweets her and says, "People saying Ian grew up is so funny to me, because nothing about him changed besides his political leaning. He revived Content Cop, something he said he was ashamed of, and felt was punching down on people. Him doing this says he believes Ethan is worse than Keemstar or Leafy. He can believe his content was mean-spirited and nasty. He has the right to believe that about the content he's created, but don't give me that bullshit that he grew up. He's just on your side now. And that's all you people care about." Brandon Buckingham shares this image of iDubbbz and captions it by saying, "Last night, Anisa finally allowed iDubbbz to try to suck his own dick in celebration of his new Content Cop." Omni says, "The new iDubbbz Content Cop on Ethan Klein feels like it was supposed to be an evolved version of what he wants it to be, but it feels like a hollow version of what was, rather than a transformation. He made a lot of good points, but also I felt he made a lot of weak points as well. Some of it felt like valid criticism. Some felt like moral grandstanding. I'm curious to see how he keeps going and appreciate the attempt to evolve. Seems like he's soul-searching. TLDR, Ethan lacks empathy and at times awareness. iDubbbz a bit too preachy and at times condescending. Hassan should watch the content nuke. We'll watch the next one." PR6 says, "The YouTube comeback for iDubbbz, the man with the longest sustained falloff in recorded history, is siding with a script room of anti-Semitic tanky dipshits that cannot discuss Ethan's ideas or perspectives themselves at any point, make him out to be crazy or obsessed for dissenting against their narrative, turn his positions on the most serious and nuanced conflict in modern history into drama slop. If you had shown this to me in 2016, I would have shit myself. What a fucking clown." One Eye Open shows an image of Hassan, H3, Denims, Brogan, and Sean the Black with the caption, "iDubbbz is surrounded by the best of the best," with the image pointing out that Hassan said America deserved 9/11, Sean justified violence for political goals, Denims denied rapes, and Brogan wished US soldiers to get PTSD. Evident Lee shows the thumbnail from the video Sam Hyde made on iDubbbz and captions it by saying, "Sam Hyde broke iDubbbz." Going back to a tweet we showed in the last video from Gricht, who responded to Hassan Piker appearing in the Content Cop by saying, "Turned off in record time," had someone called Madness respond to him with a screenshot of Hassan in the Content Cop with Denims, Sean the Black, and Frogan, and the caption, "It gets worse." Makita quote tweets this and says, "These people act like teenagers while pushing 40. Mizu Damari quote tweets Gricht and says, "Imagine making a content cop on H3H3, someone who has had literally everyone in the world call him out at this point, and you still come off looking like the bad guy because you decided to make Hassan Piker endorsing terrorism your hill to die on." Yeet, or Awk20000 on Twitter, tweeted out that the content cop had officially passed 100k dislikes, and Overzealots quote tweets him and says, "There's no way this motherfucker is employed." DJB says, "iDubbbz making this content cop doesn't make sense." Aniz asking iDubbbz to make this content cop for Hassan makes sense. Barbie Agitprop shares this screenshot from when Ethan decided to not call women bitches anymore, and captions it by saying, "That clip of Ethan deciding to not use the word bitch from all those years ago was what literally made me stand up to my abusive ex and tell him to stop saying it to me. When Ethan went back on that, it was so upsetting. He should see how far he has regressed." Park Jong makes this meme of the H3 podcast with the caption, "You gotta stop letting her drive during your show, man."
You're coming here because of this content cop?
Okay.
But if you want to start watching, you can. I'm listening.
Yeah.
Whatever you guys want.
Oh, so I can't believe I'm on the phone with the Zionist baby killer.
Fuck, I'm hit.
Alright, well, I guess I'll see you
When I see you and you're listening, so you'll know what we do end up doing.
Caramel Colored shares this screenshot of Hassan Piker talking on a channel called One Night with Steiny and captions it by saying, "Laughing my ass off, no breaks for Ethan Klein. He literally did this to himself." Kami Sutra tweets out these images of the view count on iDubbbz Content Cop H3 versus H3's Content Nuke on Hassan Piker and says, "iDubbbz Content Cop already outperformed H3's Content Nuke within 24 hours. Ethan Klein definitely cried when the podcast cameras turned off after reacting to it, laughing my ass off." Gamer from Mars says, "It's wild how a bunch of American YouTubers made the Israel and Palestine crisis about themselves." Kura Birdo shares a YouTube comment from the Content Cop and says, "Watch the new iDubbbz Content Cop, and this comment is the perfect definition of how I felt." This comment was from Pib Pascal, who says, "I like this content cop, not because of what it's talking about, but the overwhelming sense of relief I get when it dawns on me that I'm disconnected from these people and their feelings." Solid Rock reacts to an image of Hassan Piker in the content cop and says, "The irony of iDubbbz making a video in collaboration with the same type of person he would make a content cop on like a decade ago." Evan Loves Wolf then screenshots this and says, "Learning and growing into a better person is not hypocrisy." Total G shows a screenshot of a video from Rev Says Desu, who is calling iDubbbz Content Cop cringe, and captions this by saying, "I sincerely hope that iDubbbz does a content cop video on Rev at some point." iDubbbz then tweets out this image of himself with Denims, Frogan, and Sean, a Palestine garment on himself, holding one of Hassan Piker's anime swords in his stream room, and captions it by saying, "DEI dubs." Glink quote tweets him and says, "If anything has the potential to kill the Palestine movement, it's lame-ass influencers." Patrol Patches says, "He just discovered empathy, guys." Anonymous shares a zoom in on the hilt of the sword, and captions it by saying, "Swastikana becomes a skinhead. New content cop is on a Jew. What did he mean by this?" Local Trash Panda responds, "That's Zongetsu from Bleach. Its hilt is the Magi symbol from Buddhist religion. It was appropriated by the Nazi Party during World War II. Let's not just make stuff up or misunderstand stuff to make Ethan look like a tool. It's not that hard." Ananimu then shares an image of Charlie from Smiling Friends saying to Pim, "Dude, I just looked it up. That's gay. That's like 100%. Everything he said was gay and retarded." Counter Connor responds to iDubbbz by saying, "Ethan said, 'Hey bro, I'm being harassed and people are sending CPS to my house. Can you say that's bad?' And Ian said, 'Nah, I'm gonna hang out with the people who think Hamas is based and flick you off in a 1 hour long video because my wife is 8% Lebanese.' And then Howling Mutant responds, 'Seriously bro? In front of my 8% Lebanese wife?' Sean the Black quote tweets iDubbbz and says, "I'm telling my kids this was the Avengers." He then reacts to a portion of H3 responding to the video iDubbbz made and points out the entire in the stream title when he says, "Reacting to the entire content cop skips one of the most damning sections. Okay, dude." Drew Pavlo shows the image and says, "The last thing you see before absolutely nothing happens to you because nobody cares." Rock Solid responds to iDubbbz by saying, "Actually crazy downgrade YouTube has had, comparing a picture of Ian with Max and Chad from Cold Ones and Joji when he ran the Filthy Frank YouTube channel, next to Ian and the Content Cop with Denim's, Rogan, and Sean. A couple more people reacted to Denim's version of this photo, like JSR, who says, "Haven't cringed this hard in a while." Stars and Tigers shares this tweet they made where they say, "Only reason any lefty pretends his videos are entertaining is to parade him around as a reformed racist. Not because they like him or anything, but he's an example to be made out of. His only use to them is for leftists/liberals to have a 'I used to be like you' guy, nothing more." Kazuni Castana responds to Denims by saying, "This is what I'm being told is sincere, empathetic outreach. Quiet down, everyone. The grown-ups are speaking." A tweet about the streamer Destiny's opinion on this video went viral on Twitter with the caption, "Destiny calls out iDubbbz for pretending to care about Ethan's mental health."
Fine if you pretend, but don't pretend like you care about mental health or any of that cringe shit. Just be based. Tell people to kill themselves. Make fun of people who are on SSRIs. Make fun of people who have depression or anxiety or GD. Just do that. Just embrace the I can't say the words on stream anymore. All the slurs and everything you used to. Just do that. Go full in on it. But don't do this lefty bullshit of like, oh, you're presenting, these criticisms of what another person is saying. Well, maybe you're actually just fucking crazy, dude. Did you ever think that maybe every single thing you're saying is just the result of some huge mental health ailment that you're not capable of perceiving? But me, who exists, by the way, among the ranks of your harshest critics who constantly perceive, maybe I am able to perceive that thing that you're not. And I am able to diagnose you with that problem. And I am able to tell that every single thing you're saying is just coming from a place of deep insecurity and deep depression. And you just need to log off and touch grass and take a break. But like, this is the worst type of gaslighting in the universe. The internet was a better place when Ian just said the N-word. Like, it is the most mask-on, deranged type of criticism.
Rock Solid quote tweets this clip with a picture of this man in the caption, "The internet was a better place when Ian was saying the N-word." Another reaction to the Content Cop, this time from XQC, went viral when it was posted with the caption, "XQC proclaims the latest iDubbbz Content Cop a nothing burger. Leaves a comment under the video calling it content slop." That was like the most nothing burger of all time.
Dude, I don't even know what to say, bro. But I don't know, he's probably like watching people's reactions or whatever, and it's like that, and probably, guys, I really didn't want to be harsh in the video, off the rip. I didn't want to be harsh. So dislikes, I still give it a shot, okay? And this was like the most nothing burger of all time. I wish that he kind of spent the time with the video, and halfway through went like, dude, I gotta be honest with you. I was gonna do a kind of nuke, like this cannot be a nuke, and just kind of stopped. Because, yeah, you can shit equally on everybody in this video in a manner that is the same as this or more, and make a better nuke than whatever the fuck this is. I watched, and it didn't really give me the content nuke vibe, content cop vibe of the old days. This was more like a content slap. Which I was not gonna content cop like that. Yeah. Content slop. Content slop. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Check it one. That's good.
Blizzard responds to us on streaming about the Content Cop by saying, "Millennials are not going to take aging well at all. You are not the edgy youth anymore. It's over." Yeet the Rich took a screenshot of an at the time 3-minute-old Reddit post from Professional Turnip 20 where they analyzed the facial hair of Hassan to figure out when the Content Cop was recorded. And Yeet the Rich comments on this on Twitter when he says, "These people are genuinely psychotic. This person analyzed Hassan's facial hair, hairstyle, and length, and outfits in order to pinpoint the exact day they shot the Content Cop intro for some reason? This is literal obsessed psycho fan shit." Yellow Trying tweeted out this gif with the caption, "iDubbbz Content Cop in 2025, Unk still got it." Beerbuck tweets out that iDubbbz Content Cop on H3 now has more dislikes than likes with over 330,000 dislikes. Disinformation Tractor tweets out these two clips from the H3 podcast and captioned them by saying, "Ela and Ethan Klein have great advice for iDubbbz. Just delete the H3 Content Cop. No need to let it hit 10 million. Why? Because they are not going to forget. The Clives can't competently defend their behavior, so they gleefully threaten anyone who criticizes them.
I'll tell you what else. This whole video is delete worthy.
I agree.
I think he needs to delete the whole video.
I think bro, don't even, bro. Yeah. This guy was my friend, by the way, like of 10 years. What was it?
He deleted all his other content cops, right?
Yeah. He doesn't stand by them. I'm uniquely evil.
I think he's gonna need to keep with that tradition and delete this one too.
We're not going to forget. This is actually like, he's actually a terrible person. I feel like mathematically proven.
Disinfo Tracker continues by saying, Ethan also repeatedly threatened to sue Noah Samson if he doesn't delete his video on Ethan within 2 days. It would be good for Ethan to fail publicly with his baseless defamation lawsuit, but the clients are so depraved that they will fall back on more harassment to compensate. Wavy Websurf says, Content Cop was so much better when Anisa wrote them. D-Hard tweets out, I didn't know what an Israeli was when I first watched H3 because I was like 11, so I thought Ela Klein was retarded or something. And then Anime Serba quote tweets them and says, iDubbbz if he made the Content Cop video and he still had his fastball. Comrade Snark shares this clip from the H3 subreddit with the caption, Ethan Klein's reaction to the ending of the Content Cop. He can't even look at an old clip of himself reflecting about his problematic behavior.
And I have been kind of slipping into a very unhealthy place where it's gotten worse and worse, and I get criticized more and more, and I get more defensive and more hold up, a feeling of almost infallibility that I could take anything on. It led me to make a lot of mistakes. And then when I was criticized for those mistakes, then I would act extremely defensive and nasty and not really processing them in a healthy way. Now, that's how he ends it. That's how he ends the fucking video.
10 out of 10.
Ugh responds to him by saying, what did he say about the others were saying kind stuff? Can't imagine that went well, but I hope I'm wrong. Comrade Snark responds he can't take compliments. He misconstrued them as an attack. Froggy Tonic quote tweets his comrade and says, this shit is fascinating to me. You see the mental struggle live. The incapacity to watch the face of someone he lost almost, only to himself. I just want to know what pushed him away from that state of trying to progress/heal. Shout out Ian. And speaking of Froggy Tonic and a bunch of other supposed characters, there was this image tweeted out by Psychedelic Socialist with the meme of choosing two directions, one being the good side, one being the bad side. Anyway, Chris Raygun quote tweeted this and said, I've never been so happy to not understand an image in my life. And Mudaha responds to him by saying, unemployed behavior. Shirtless Cash shows a screenshot of the moment Ian lost his match in Creator Clash 2 under a tweet that says, people will always be like what Zero Pussy does to a motherfucker, but I've seen what pussy does to a motherfucker and it's much worse, and captions it by saying, world's the most evergreen meme. The Emily Ma shows a post that Anisa made on October 16th, 2023 that said, thank you so much for the love, Ethan. Appreciate you and Ela so much, and we'll always look up to you too, and captions it by saying, this tweet had an expiration date of exactly 2 years. LOL. Dojangle shows an image of Post Malone next to Frogan with the caption, who Ian used to pull for Content Cop cameos versus who he pulls now. Okopox shares this clip from Ethan's reaction and says, laughing my ass off, Ethan's reaction to Frogan. This Content Cop is really something else. And then he says, this is not a tweet in support of iDubbbz. Fuck that snake. Frogan audience, get out of here.
Ethan, wake up.
Oh my God. Frogan, what a nightmare. Talk about a jump scare. This man willingly got in a room with Frogan to make a video about how I can't, bro, I can't. How is this real? This is like, am I dreaming?
See? They told you to wake up.
I think I do need to wake up. This is surreal. iDubbbz was literally like co-signed Frogan, the girl who said, I hope fucking veterans get PTSD.
Wake up.
The girl who put on a fucking racial tier list.
Darth Potato responds by saying, Ian, concluding her is the epitome of where I will never support iDubbbz ever again. Truly disgrace who lost his way. Sad days. Octopox responds for real. A run and no response to Octopox by saying, this man willingly got in a room with Frogan. Yeah, cause Frogan is generally a nice person, and iDubbbz doesn't defend war crimes, I know. Frogan then makes a tweet of her own where she says, Ethan Klein wants to defend Muslims, because he's being held accountable in the content cop for continuously being a vile person. iDubbbz has apologized, shown genuine change over the last decade, and is literally married to a Muslim woman, by the way. If one of your self-proclaimed close friends made a YouTube video about how shitty you're being, sit back and reflect on that. Ian was so charitable to Ethan, and approached it in ways most don't. The content nuke is not what I described above, considering Hassan and Ethan have both reached out to Ethan wanting to talk, and Ethan didn't answer / refuse to do so, and Hassan literally said he would watch the content nuke with Ethan sitting right next to him. Shireen Smith responds by saying, y'all got CPS called on his kids and are trying to justify harassing him as a way to help Palestine. Did y'all free Palestine yet? Did not voting for Kamala get you everything you ever wanted? Was it worth it? Wavy Websurf responds to Frogan by sharing an image of a video Aniza made titled, Why I Left Islam, and says, I'm so confused. Why is everything you say a complete lie? What are we missing here? Brandon Buckingham also quote tweets Frogan with this clip from Aniza's video in the caption, iDubbbz is literally married to a Muslim woman.
Telling my dad that I'm not Muslim was probably the hardest thing that I've ever done in my whole entire life.
Doe Jingles quote tweets Frogan and says, if iDubbbz can speak by proxy being married to a Muslim, then I'll speak by proxy and say no one asked iDubbbz to be a Muslim savior. Ethan himself also responded to Frogan on his Instagram story by sharing the front of an employment deployment department. Ethan also responds to Frogan saying that Ian was being charitable in his video by saying, no offense and please don't take this the wrong way, but you may be the dumbest person alive. And then Ethan responds to Frogan one more time with a picture of Aniza's video titled Why I Left Islam and an image of Ian tearing the Quran in half. Some more people tried to call out Ethan on Twitter, like the loser who showed this clip and says, notice how smooth Ethan Klein hid the real chat in the top right corner? He hid it like a little super spy. Probably none of his 40k viewers even noticed.
Like, it is not a secret. Go on.
Leaves the shit on the floor, something that is probably related to the fact that his former housekeeper is suing him for a number of different reasons.
Now pay attention to her
doesn't
chat.
Have a housekeeper anymore, or perhaps he lost his extra housekeeper. So now the house is just like covered in dog shit. And he has kids, and his kids like crawl into the dog shit, and God forbid, I don't know.
Now this is Denham's reacting to this 2 days before CPS was called, and let's just take a look at the chat. Call CPS.
The loser continues by saying, when he gets caught 2 to 3 minutes later, he admits that the chats shown are only the highlights. However, he leaves out the fact that chatters wanted CPS to be called because he said he had a disease you can only get if you eat poop. Denham's already addressed this on YouTube last month. Miss Saz then quote tweets the loser and says, disgusting. Can we all stop tiptoeing around this shit? He's shown no proof that CPS even came, and you can't call CPS in California anonymously. Feel like he's lying to shield himself from criticism. He's literally covering up the real chat on screen. What are we doing here? Then the official H3 podcast Twitter quote tweets Saz with this clip and the caption, right after that clip.
What we do need to mention is that the top right is the full chat, right?
Yeah. So just to make a correction,
okay.
This is the live chat.
Okay.
This is a highlight of all the CPS calls, which, by the way, is extraordinarily large amount. It's something like 50-something chats over the course of like 3 minutes. And that is basically your entire chat putting forth this notion of calling CPS unmoderated, unchecked, uncorrected.
David Weigel shares a screenshot of the nearly 5-hour reaction Ethan gave to iDubbbz Content Cop and captions it by saying, listening to this at 0.5 times speed so I don't miss anything. Hassan Piker then responds, I hope you don't stop coming on the show when you find out about my radical extremism. David then responds, your glasses are fake. How did he know? Riffing on the fact that Ethan pauses a lot in his reactions and tries to give as much context as possible. And Ian himself continued to respond, not on Twitter but on Instagram, with a variety of photos from the Content Cop shoot, with this one at the very end being interesting as it is the most happy I have ever seen Aniza Jamha be on her face, ever. And I've covered the iDubbbz stuff a lot of videos on this channel that you can use to catch up on any of the previous stuff in regards to them. And I guarantee you will not find one frame of Anisa looking more happy than she does in that photo. And I think that's interesting, but I would love to hear what you guys think is interesting about this in the comment section below, like the whole topic overall, not this specific photo, but yeah. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in another video.